Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. If you're new, this is a series where I take a look at some videos and answer some people's questions or analyse what's being said in the videos. And this is another video from a channel called History Debunked, a channel that doesn't necessarily debunk history but just sort of asks questions for the viewers to answer. Now, he doesn't attempt to answer his own question, he doesn't attempt to research his own question that I can find out from what I've seen on his channel. I'm going to try and answer that question. So this is his question today, and it's quite long-winded. It takes him about 2 minutes to ask the question, so I'm going to edit it down to a reasonable length and then answer it.
Hello again. Dreadful things happen during wars, and these days it is as common for civilians to be casualties as it is soldiers. Present conflict has created many refugees as people flee the fighting. What is interesting is that although refugees in Gaza are shown an awful lot in the news, and there is great concern about them, the same is not true of refugees in Israel. The fact remains that there are many refugees in both Israel and Gaza, but the world's press do not seem at all keen to report on the hundreds of thousands of Israeli refugees. I wonder why that might be.
Now, when you're searching for information, you might have to change up your search terms a little bit. I searched Israeli refugees on Google and on YouTube, and that didn't come up with many results. In fact, it showed me more about Palestinian refugees. So I changed my search term to abandoned Israeli towns or abandoned Israeli settlements, and that brought up a lot of results about Israeli refugees. In fact, let's have a look at one of those reports.
Scenes of serenity after the chaos of conflict. People arriving from Israel at this shelter on the banks of Hungary's Lake Balaton say it's a godsend. Inside, sounds of Jewish prayer fill an improvised synagogue. Children sing songs in Hebrew. And kitchen staff cook kosher food for 200 residents. Many of them are mothers who fled to Hungary after the Hamas attacks.
Now, just keep those images in mind because they'll be relevant later. But it is clear when you search for Israeli refugees, there isn't the amount of results that come up when you search as when you search for Palestinian refugees. Now, why is that? Right? Why isn't the media focusing on Israeli refugees? To me, the answer is pretty obvious. The media plays on the emotions of the viewer. It's what keeps the viewer coming back to the content. And it's really important to consider your viewing figures when you run a modern news channel. So what's going to hit with the viewer is what you're going to go with. In general, the media is going to go with what the general public has compassion for. We have to see the stark contrast between the Israeli refugees and the Palestinian refugees. So let's now look at some footage of Palestinian refugees and notice the stark contrast between the conditions.
Reem Surur is living in difficult circumstances, here in a tent in Al-Mawazi in the city of Rafah, in the south of the Gaza Strip. She was forced to flee her home in northern Gaza in search of safe shelter. Displacement has deprived her of even the most basic necessities.
We are suffering here in this camp. We cook over fire and we have to carry water in buckets over long distances. There is no access to safe water, which forces us to drink dirty water. Our children get sick frequently and suffer from malnutrition and cold.
That's quite different from the Israeli situation. The Israelis have the freedom to move within a large country to safety, to seek safety. They have the freedom to travel abroad to another country to seek refuge, as we saw in that clip. Israelis also have a visa waiver at the moment on their travel to America, so any Israeli can just travel to America, no visa required. Israelis there's how many Israeli refugees? 100,000, 150,000 at the most. There are 1.5 million Palestinians concentrated in such a small area. I don't think most people really comprehend it. It's a fraction the size of London. So looking on this map of Gaza spread over London, you can see it's a tiny fraction of London. And the little bit that they're squeezed into right down at this bottom section here, you know, it goes from Wimbledon to Richmond and down, I'm not sure where that is, between Claygate and Sutton. It's such a small, tiny area. 1.5 million people crammed into this area. All these people from up here, if not killed, they're here. Now, in comparison, Gaza and that tiny little area, which would be, you know, about the size of my mouse, the people in Israel have moved from up here, these areas, into all of this area. And the people from Gaza, many times more people than have moved from here, have all crammed down into this tiny little corner in the bottom of this red strip of land. So it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare one little bit. And this is why there's more media attention. This is why there's more public attention or public interest in the people of Palestine and not the Israeli refugees. Because everybody in Gaza is a refugee. Okay, so just before we finish this video, just to make the contrast really clear, this is footage from an Israeli refugee camp.
And kitchen staff cook kosher food for 200 residents. Many of them are mothers who fled to Hungary after the Hamas attacks.
And this is footage from a Palestinian refugee camp that's just been bombed by Israel.
I wonder why that might be.
That's why. I thought that would have been common sense, but apparently not. So, not a very enjoyable video, but if you like this kind of content or you want to see more content like this, I'm sure I'll be doing more videos like this because this man asks plenty of stupid questions. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.